From a phone with a battery so large it's actually going to be in the Guinness World Records to a phone with nearly 20 gigabytes of RAM, these are the top 9 brand new rugged smartphones that came out in 2022. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss more awesome rugged smartphone videos just like this. Check down in the description for links to each of these phones if you'd like to learn more about them or to purchase one. Now let's get straight into this video. First up is the Blackview BV7100. The BV7100 comes with 6 gigabytes of RAM, which isn't bad, but you can expand it even more up to 10 gigabytes of RAM. Now there's only one other phone in this whole video that has expandable RAM, and that's the #1 pick. So for the number 10 pick to also have expandable RAM, that's pretty impressive, especially since this phone is also the lowest priced phone in this video, going for just $200 on AliExpress and $240 on Blackview's website. This phone also has the higher military standard 810H rating for increased durability and waterproofing, and its 6.58-inch FHD Plus screen runs at a surprisingly high resolution of 2408 by 1080, which is very cool to see. If you think 1080 by 2408 is a kind of strange resolution, well, you're right, it is. But it is a strange resolution that many of the phones in this video also share. Of course, there are downsides to buying the lowest priced phone in this video. It's not 5G, and it's got the lowest performing chipset in this video, which is the Helio G85, but paired with 10 gigabytes of RAM, it isn't bad. It's got a large 13,000 mAh battery that gives you 50 hours of call time and a whopping 1,152 hours or 48 days of standby. It's got 128 gigabytes of internal storage that is expandable up to 1 terabyte, which is also great to see. It also features NFC, glove mode, a customizable button, fingerprint unlock, and navigation. All in all, it's a pretty solid phone for under $250. Now that phone is pretty good, but we are just getting started here. Make sure you watch till the end because my #1 pick is one of the most amazing rugged phones that I have ever seen, and it is guaranteed to blow your mind. Now next up we've got number 8, the Doogee S89 Pro. Some have called this the best mid-range rugged phone on the market right now, and it certainly is the only Batman-inspired rugged phone on the market. The back of the phone looks like Batman's face, complete with LED eyes that light up when you get a call. This is definitely not a good phone for hardcore gaming, but you should have no trouble playing more simple games. It's got triple rear cameras with a 64 megapixel main, which works well up close, but it gets a little blurry when you're farther away. And it also has a 20 megapixel Sony night vision camera. The S89 Pro costs $420 on Amazon, $340 on Doogee's website, and just $264 on AliExpress. It's got a large 12,000 mAh battery that gives you 56 hours of calling and 36 days of standby. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of internal storage that is expandable up to 512 gigabytes. The 6.3 LCD FHD Plus display runs at 1080 by 2340 resolution, and the S89 Pro is rated military standard 810H for increased durability, drop proofing, and waterproofing. Now the Helio P90 chipset is the second worst performing chipset in this video, but it should be good enough for general use. Now, if you're interested in night vision phones, these next two are also for you. Number 7, we've got the Blackview BV8800. The BV8800 packs a quad 50 megapixel main camera plus an 8 megapixel ultra wide plus a 2 megapixel depth plus a 20 megapixel infrared night vision camera on the back. It uses a Helio G96 chipset, which is the most powerful 4G MediaTek chipset that there is, and on top of that, it's got 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's a little disappointing to see that it's only got 128 gigabytes of internal storage, but for many users that will be enough. The BV8800 is Blackview's first phone to include a 90Hz display, making for a super fluid experience on its 6.58-inch FHD Plus screen, and this is another phone that runs at the kind of odd resolution of 1080 by 2408. With such a high screen resolution though, it is a bummer that the BV8800 only supports Widevine L3, so you can only stream video at 480p max. It is military standard 810H for even more durability, and it packs an 8,380 mAh battery that gives you 32 hours of calling and 720 hours or 30 days of standby, and it costs $350 on Amazon and $260 on AliExpress. Up next at number 6, we've got the Oukitel WP19. This phone's battery is so big that it's supposed to be going in the Guinness World Records for the world's largest battery on any smartphone. It's got a gigantic 21,000 mAh battery with enough juice to charge an Apple iPhone 13 6 whole times, and you can even use it to charge your laptop if it has a USB-C connection. This 21,000 mAh battery gives you 122 hours of calling and a whopping 2,252 hours or 93 days of standby, which is the highest standby time in this entire video. It comes with 8GB of RAM, 256GB of internal storage that is expandable up to 512GB, and it runs on the Helio G95 chipset, which is a decent mid-range SoC. It's got a triple rear camera with 64 megapixel main camera and 20 megapixel night vision camera, and it does have the military standard 810H rating for even more durability. Its 6.78-inch FHD Plus screen is the largest screen in this entire video, and it runs at 2460 by 1080 resolution, which is also the highest resolution in this video. The WP19 costs $383 from Amazon and just $315 from AliExpress. Now keep watching because we've got even more night vision coming up later. Now the next 5 phones are all 5G, and I've got some thermal imaging phones coming up as well. Next up at number 5 is the Oukitel WP15. With a 15,600 mAh battery, the WP15 is the phone with the second largest battery in the world, giving you 130 hours of call time and 1,300 hours or 54 days of standby, which, believe it or not, is a slightly longer call time than its gigantic 21,000 mAh sibling, the WP19. It's got 8GB of RAM, 128GB of internal storage that is expandable up to 256GB, and it runs on the Dimensity 700 5G chipset. This 5G chipset is pretty much the only reason I ranked it one place higher than the WP19, if you're wondering. It's got a 48 megapixel Sony rear camera, and it is rated military standard 810G. Its 6.52-inch HD Plus screen runs at the lower resolution of 720 by 1600 though, which is the lowest resolution in this whole video. The WP15 costs $420 on Amazon and just $300 on AliExpress, and you can hit the links in the description below to check it out if you'd like to learn more or to purchase one. Now next up at number 4 is the Blackview BL8800 Pro. This phone has a 50 megapixel main camera plus a FLIR thermal imaging camera, and besides the phone at number 1 in this video, this is the only other thermal imaging phone in this whole video. And this one costs much less than the number 1 phone. It's got an 8,380 mAh battery that gives you 32 hours of calling and 720 hours or 30 days of standby. It's got a nice 8GB of RAM, but it only has 128GB of internal storage. It also has the Dimensity 700 5G chipset inside. It is rated military standard 810H for increased durability, and its 6.58-inch display runs at 2408 by 1080 resolution. Now on the downside, there is no wireless charging, and it does not support a micro SD card, which is disappointing considering the low 128GB of internal storage, but for normal use, it should perform fine. The BL8800 Pro costs $500 on Amazon and just $300 on AliExpress. Now keep watching because these top 3 phones are extremely impressive, and you will definitely be blown away by the number 1 pick, I guarantee it. Next up at number 3 is the Doogee V20. The V20 has a triple rear camera with a 64 megapixel main and a 20 megapixel night vision camera. In addition to the night vision, this phone's most unique features have got to be the gorgeous 6.43-inch AMO LED display that runs at 1080 by 2400 resolution and an interesting second display on the back of the phone. It is rated military standard 810G. It comes with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage that you can expand up to 512GB, and it uses the Dimensity 700 5G chipset. Now on the downside, it is limited to Widevine L3, so you can only stream things like Netflix at 480p max, which is a shame considering its very nice AMO LED display, and it has a 6000 mAh battery, which is the lowest battery capacity in this whole video, which according to Doogee gives you just 28 hours of call time and 18 hours of standby, but it should last 2 to 3 days under normal use. The Doogee V20 costs $500 on Amazon and just $360 on AliExpress. Next up at number 2 is the Umidigi Bison GT2 Pro. This phone runs on the Dimensity 900 5G chipset, so it is tied with the number 1 phone for the best processor in this video, and it has not one but 2 customizable buttons on the side. It's got a 6.5-inch 90Hz display running at 2400 by 1080 resolution. It comes with triple rear cameras with a 64-megapixel main, and it's rated military standard 810G. Along with the Dimensity 900, it's got 8GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage, but it also has a 6150 mAh battery, which is the second lowest capacity battery in this video. The Bison GT2 Pro costs $400 on Amazon and $350 on AliExpress. And now, coming in at number 1 is the Ulefone PowerArmor 18T. Now the specs on this phone are amazing, so much so that Ulefone is calling this the most advanced rugged smartphone ever. First off, the PowerArmor 18T features an insane 108 megapixel camera that can shoot 4K video, plus a 5 megapixel ultra macro camera with 60x magnification, and on top of that, it's got a FLIR thermal imaging camera as well. It's got a 6.58-inch FHD plus 120Hz display running at 1080 by 2408 resolution, and like the number 2 phone, it also features the Dimensity 900 5G chipset. But check this out. This phone comes with a whopping 12GB of RAM, the most RAM that any rugged phone offers that I know of, and not only that, you can expand the RAM even further by adding 5GB of virtual RAM, giving you a total of 17GB of RAM. Now that is a lot of RAM. And it doesn't end there. The Armor 18T comes with 256GB of internal storage, but you can expand it up to 2 terabytes. That is a huge amount of internal storage. It's got a 9600 mAh battery, and that isn't really insanely large, but it still gives you 29 hours of calling and 524 hours or 21 days of standby. But here's where things get a little dicey. All of these awesome specs come at a price. This phone currently costs $1,000 on AliExpress, but they are running some sales, so you might be able to get it cheaper. But that's definitely a lot of money, I'm not gonna lie. But considering everything that this phone comes with, the price is understandable. Well, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Then check out this playlist for more of my best rugged smartphone videos, and I'll see you in the next video.